about Speaker of the House of Representatives in the United States, the election for it. It wrapped up. It actually wrapped up after midnight on Saturday night. Finally, Kevin McCarthy had given, I guess, enough. There was enough conflict. There was enough haranguing as to convince those who were still holding out against Kevin McCarthy to either vote for him or to abstain. By abstaining, all he really needed is a majority. So enough abstain to give him a majority. And Kevin McCarthy, the Republican, is now Speaker of the House of Representatives. I think a lot of people just wanted to go home for the weekend and had enough and realized that this was inevitable in the end. It is interesting, though, to read the list of so-called concessions that McCarthy made in order to get some of these votes. These are concessions, I think, made. If you remember, 20 people voted against him in the earlier rounds, and at some point that had dwindled down to the 5, 6, kind of what I would consider some of the wackier Republican legislatures. But it is interesting to get those, and some of those voted present and never actually voted for McCarthy. They weren't there. The last 4 or 5 were not there for any concessions. They didn't care. I mean, they were there to disrupt. They were there to stop him from becoming Speaker. They didn't care about the details. But the other 15, it turns out, did and actually got some concessions from McCarthy. And some of these, I have to say, are pretty good. Some of these commitments by McCarthy actually will make the House of Representatives, I think, better. Part of the reason they will make it better is they will force legislation to go slower. They will force legislation to be considered. They will maybe force more stalemate, which is good, and create more barriers to actually passing laws, which is good. So I think what turned out is that the people voting against McCarthy was split into two. Those who actually really care about what they call conservative ideas or limiting government spending or shrinking government, at least while they're in their opposition, they care about these things. And those who just did it for the sake of disrupting and for more nihilistic reasons. So here's some of the concessions that he got. Now, the first one is kind of ridiculous and more for I'd say for the nihilistic wing of them, and that is that at any point, any member of the Republican caucus can object to McCarthy being Speaker and force another vote on the speakership. So I think it used to be that a majority of the caucus had to vote against the Speaker to force a new vote. McCarthy then compromised and said, okay, 5 people want to call a motion to vacate the speakership, he'll accept that. Now it's 1. So at any point, anybody in the House can demand, and Kevin McCarthy has agreed that he will put himself up to a vote again. That is just absurd and ridiculous. But anyway, that's one of the elements. But some of these other ones are actually pretty good. Here's one. It includes a rule that says, and again, some of this is speculation because the rules haven't been formalized. We'll see what they are finally, but here's one. It includes a rule that says that any move to raise the debt ceiling must also be accompanied by spending cuts. Anytime spending cuts are on the table, I'm for it. Of course, this is exactly what I was hoping for. I was hoping for a Congress that would actually put a stalemate to Democratic Senate and a Democratic president who would actually force Biden to negotiate that if he wanted certain programs, he would have to cut. There would have to actually be spending cuts. Now, we'll see if they live up to this. We'll see if Republicans live up to this. We'll see if they're willing to hold out like they did in 2011, I think it was. The new Tea Party group held up. We will see. We will see if they can hold out. We will see if they can hold out. Let's see. There's a whole, there's a whole, let's see some of the other good rules. Appropriation bills, 12 appropriation bills, will now be voted on individually rather than one omnibus spending bill. Good thing. The more you break down the federal budget, the more the corruption inherent in it becomes real and becomes evident to people, and the better it is. Let's break it down. Let's not make it 12 appropriations bills. Let's divvy it up into 100 different bills. I don't care. The more we break it down, the more we get into the nitty-gritty, the more we're forced to confront the nitty-gritty, the better it is. Having 12 appropriation bills instead of one omnibus bill, good thing. Again, let's see if they live up to it, but this is good. Let's see. It also gives lawmakers, this is a revolutionary one. This gives lawmakers 72 whole hours to review bills before they come to the House floor. 72 whole hours to actually read the bill. I mean, that's pretty cool. Maybe we won't get a situation where Nancy Pelosi, a member, said about Obamacare, they'll read it after it's passed. We'll figure out what's in it after it's passed. Just vote the way you're supposed to vote. That's good. Interesting that none of these, by the way, none of these were passed. None of these issues were passed. And none of these were done in the House when the Republicans had a majority in the House when Trump was president. So no spending cuts in order to raise the debt ceiling didn't happen when Trump was president and Republicans held the House. None of this, as far as I remember, 12 appropriation bills, none of the 72 hours, all of this didn't exist. So this is the Republican Party being its better self, and the Republican Party is always its better self when they are in the opposition, never when they are in power. Now, it also gives lawmakers all kinds of extra ability to pass stuff regarding abortion and regarding border security and other what I consider bad areas. So we'll see how it all shakes out. But to the extent that this will actually have an impact on reducing the effectiveness of the House to pass grand legislation, in particular omnibus bills and in particular appropriation bills, a good thing. Government spending when Trump was in power went up no less than it did significantly faster than it did in the final 6 years of the Obama administration. Trump and Bush spent more money than Obama did in the last 6 years. The first 2 years, he both had a Democratic House and Senate, and Obama also was coming out of the financial crisis. So there was a lot of stimulus packages involved, including the Bush stimulus. But in terms of normal times, non-stimulus times, Trump was just as spendy, and Republicans spent just as much as Obama did and as Biden is, if you take out the stimulus package. Well, if you include Trump's stimulus package, I'm not sure. So, rather have a Republican Party that's decent as an opposition party than not having anything and having the Democrats just steamroll. If only Republicans had held the Senate 2 years ago, a lot of, and I blame Donald Trump for that, for not holding the Senate. If only they'd held the Senate 2 years ago, then much of the Biden agenda would have never gone through. And we would have been saved from, I think, some of the economic devastation, real damage that the Biden agenda is causing. But so be it. Thank you for listening or watching the Yaron Brook Show. If you'd like to support the show, we make it as easy as possible for you to trade with me. You get value from listening. You get value from watching. Show your appreciation. You can do that by going to yaronbrookshow.com/support, by going to Patreon, Subscribestar, Locals, and just making a appropriate contribution on any one of those channels. Also, if you'd like to see the Yaron Brook Show grow, please consider sharing our content and, of course, subscribe,
press that little bell button right down there on YouTube so that you get an announcement when we go live. And for those of you who are already subscribers and those of you who are already supporters of the show, thank you. I very much appreciate it.